can we get microphones a little louder? Can you hear it? Okay. Before we start, I want to state that all questions will be heard at the end of the meeting in the Q&A session. There will be no questions as we go along. Now, I'm going to go out of order a little bit. We're going to make Mr. Robinson wait for the invocation because I want to read a statement into the minutes here and to the membership. Your board has listened to the membership. We also recognize the current economic climate for the construction industry. We have decided to put the non-pool portion of the project temporarily on hold. This is the bulk of the project, which includes pool decking, bathrooms, fitness center, etc. At this time, we are only proceeding with the pool portion of the project, which should begin at the end of July. As you may recall, the pool itself is being constructed by an Albuquerque contractor that specializes in commercial swimming pools, and we feel very comfortable with their proposal. The temporary hold in the remainder of the project will allow us to solicit competitive bids to ensure that what we are doing is best for the club and that we're getting the best bang for your buck. Again, you have raised concerns about costs. We shall conduct additional due diligence to ensure that pricing is truly competitive. I welcome your questions at the end of the meeting in the Q&A session after all the presentations by your fellow members have been made. Now, I'd like to introduce Mike Robinson, who is going to do our invocation. He is a Lutheran pastor from San Antonio, Texas, and a terrifically nice guy. Mike?
Thank you. Yeah, I was also the associate bishop when I was down there, and I worked for the National Church for 5 years doing stewardship. And I learned a fun fact. Where does the word stewardship come from? Now, someone's going to raise their hand. Oh, no, I know. Actually, it comes from an old English word, styward. Does anyone have any clue what that might be? In old England, jolly old England, the styward, I bet this guy knows, was in charge of the pigs. He didn't own the pigs, but he was in charge of them. You know, he was the caretaker. And if he was a good styward, he would become maybe the game warden. Or after that, he even might become, the prison warden. And if he was religious, he might become the church warden, which is still, if you're an Episcopal, is still used in your governance. Today, we're reminded that we are all stewards. We are stewardess of all that God has given to us. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be here this morning and to be good stewards of all that you've blessed us with. We thank you for this community who is gathered here today and out and about. We thank you for the beautiful scenery in the grounds here. What a blessing. We thank you for the governments who work so hard for us and obviously has to make difficult decisions. And we thank you for all the abundant resources. Now, Lord, we pray for the leadership and the staff, and we also give you thanks for this wonderful, beneficial rain. May we be stewards of all that we have been given. Lord, especially now, we pray for those in this community who have faced illness, who have dealt with death, and a special place in our hearts for the victims of the McBride wildfire and all the wildfires in this state. Bless now this gathering, and we pray for your intervention and that you would be with our leaders. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you, Mike. Now please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Good morning.
Y'all get some coffee, sweet rolls. I've had a couple down there. I can tell you right now they're pretty good. To start off, I'm going to introduce the board of directors and then the department heads of the club, and then we have some people that have met some special milestones as far as their service here at the club, and we're going to recognize those people also. So, as far as the board of directors, Bruce Ellis is not here. He had a grandchild commitment in Denver, and Bud is not here today either. He's, I'm sure Bud's at work selling cars. So, anyway, but as far as directors on property here, we got John Stern, our president, Scott Dickerson, Nathan Thomas, Jimmy Mace, Debbie Cran, Scott Miller, and Richie Hood. Give them a hand. I've always said, I wouldn't wish, I say, why don't you get, people that are your friends on the board? I said, I wouldn't ask my friends to do that. So, anyway, I got a lot of respect for these people because there's times where they don't even get to eat out here properly without getting accosted. So, and that's just part of it. But anyway, department heads. One of the things that I don't know if y'all understand how blessed we are, but there's a young lady right here in a very nice, beautiful pink outfit here. Gina Keith. Gina, stand up so everybody can see you. Gina is the best controller that I've ever had the privilege of working with, ever. She is on it, and she is an asset to the club. John Rogers. Now, and the next person I'm going to holler at is Mr. Kirk Taylor. So, Kirk, why don't you come up too? Do we have a strong golf team here? I mean, I don't think in the state of New Mexico there's a strong, or maybe in the whole United States there's a stronger golf team than we've got right here. Y'all enjoying the new pro shop? Now, that's directly, John Rogers has been the driving force in that. Kirk's come in now and put the cherry on top of the sundae. So, anyway, thanks you guys for all that you do, and I appreciate you all very much. You're welcome. Glenn Denny, where's Mr. Denny? Come on up, Glenn. Glenn would be probably on the hot seat if it hadn't rained 5 inches in the last 3 or 4 days. So, anyway, but he controls that, so he can do it on command. But Glenn Denny is another indispensable cog in this operation. Glenn is as Gina is the best I've ever dealt with, Glenn is the best I've ever dealt with. And so we're very fortunate to have Glenn. And he's put together a good crew, and we're kind of doing it a little bit with smoke and mirrors because we just don't have enough staff. But, as you can, I drove it yesterday. It's in pretty daggum good condition. So thank you, Glenn. Appreciate you. Is Damien? Do I have Damien out here? Damien Alvarado is our executive chef. Now, I mean, everybody seemed like Randy Narvison was the chef here for eternity, and came and went and came back. And we are blessed to have Damien. Damien is a local guy. He has the respect of the kitchen like I've never seen a chef have respect. If you were out last night for the annual meeting, the steaks were impeccable. Every day doesn't go as I don't expect you to come out here and everybody jump up and say, that's the best meal I've ever had in my life, day after day after day. But I hope the consistency has gotten better. Damien, come on, everybody can see this guy. Damien is he's the guy that makes all this stuff happen. Is Robert here this morning? Yeah, why don't you get Robert up here too, and he's executive sous chef. Robert was here before. Robert was here with JR. Y'all remember JR? Yes. There's a lot of affinity for JR. But he was here at that time with JR, and now he's back again. So, putting on a clean hat. Anyway, Teresa Gibson. Teresa, come up here, please. Every year I say a little prayer. Oh, here comes Robert. Robert, come on up, man. So glad to see you. This is one heck of a team in the kitchen. So we're blessed to have these young men. They want to be here. They're not sentenced to be here. They want to be here. So thank you, guys. Miss Teresa. Every year I say a prayer. Teresa Gibson's going to not retire this year. Please, God. Not this year. You know, we're lucky that she is all the decorations you see at the club, all the coordination of all these events goes through this young lady. Give her a big hand, please. Brother Frank Gonzalez, come on up. Come on down. How many of you know? How many of y'all feel like Frank is part of your family? Frank is a blessing. He's come over here. We got him out of the being kind of oblivious over there at Outlaw. I know over here he's a lot more up front, and people get to see him more. And we couldn't operate without Frank. So Frankie, thank you. All right, Vanessa, are you here, Vanessa? Is she here? She's probably over at Outlaw Slater. So, well, Vanessa's the new, for a better word, front and back of the house manager over at Outlaw. And she's got a lot of management experience. She was just been working over here. Now she's decided she wants to, will accept the responsibility and the commitment of going back into management, which, you know, I appreciate very much. So. Daniel, Big Daniel, where's he at? There he is. You don't want to mess with this guy. Big Daniel. Daniel's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He looks a little scary, but he's a big teddy bear. But Daniel is an up-and-coming star. You know, we got plans for Daniel. Daniel's our food and beverage manager, and he's doing a great job. You know, one of the things as a young manager, I can remember I'd go in the bathroom and throw up before I'd walk through the dining room because that made me so nervous. Daniel is starting to develop his own style and his own tableside manner, so that comes with experience, and so we're blessed to have Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. Katrina. Now look at this young, this is like there's hope for the world. We've got a youngster that wants to work and does a great job. She is a darling. She is going to have a place here as long as she wants to be here. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you so much. And she's the assistant food manager. Now, Paula, everybody knows Paula from the office. She can be a little, well, her husband says she's meaner than a snake. So, but to be an HR manager in this world, you have to have some of those characteristics. But Paula had grandchild duty today, so she won't be here, but she is our human resource director. One person that we cannot operate, if Maggie is quit tomorrow, we have to shut down. I mean, for at least 6 months. So, Maggie does so many things. She does so much for me. But Maggie is an indispensable cog in this. And I know she handles a lot of the ACC stuff and member onboarding and all that. But again, another person that would be impossible to replace. Where's Eddie? I know Eddie's here. Here he is. I've never seen Eddie without his hat on. Oh. There you go. Eddie Candelaria. He's our maintenance supervisor. Again, another cog in the wheel that we'd be clunking down the road if we didn't have Eddie. So Eddie, thank you. You know, Eddie, how many years do you in this? 11. So he's working up the ladder to getting that little plaque with the check behind it. So anyway, Eddie, thank you for everything you do. All right, we have some milestones that we'd like to. Where's Caleb? There's Caleb. we have some people that have been here. We have Imelda Moreno, who is in housekeeping. She has been here for 10 years. And so we're going to recognize Imelda with a plaque and a little compensation for all her hard work. Everybody, the reason this place is so clean and all this stuff is always in order all the time, these gals right here take good care of y'all. Thank you. All right. She deserves multiple rounds. We've got 2 people this year that have hit a milestone that's unusual in any business anymore. 25 years with one same job. Maybe not the same job, but worked for the same company. But anyway, Martin Espinosa. If you went over to Outlaw and Martin wasn't there, you'd probably get in your car and leave because you wouldn't know what to do. So, Martin, thanks for all your years of service, and we appreciate you. Now, for the 25-year people, we're going to have a little something after the annual meeting, so you have a chance to shake their hand and thank them personally. So, anyway, Martin, 25 years. All right, we have one more 25-year person. When I was here in 2014, I don't know what I was, but I was here in 2014. 80% of the membership would demand that this person wait on them. They'd get here and, how come I don't have, or how come I'm not sitting by the window and don't have Lisa London? And Lisa has weathered more storms in this place. She is probably the most complete employee that I've ever had the privilege of having to manage. She never says no. She never, she's been here all this time. She does her side work, and she is beloved. So everybody put your hands together for Lisa London. I do have one more. Oh, there's 2 sides to these things. There's 3 5-year employees that we haven't that I skipped over, and that's not because they're not important. It's because I'm not paying attention to my own notes. Okay, we've got Sonia Harrington, Jose Mendoza, Hans Dubé, and Maggie Fizz are all in their 5-year, getting their 5-year kids. Everybody, all the 5 years, come up here, please. This young man has been there. He's gone from somebody that we didn't lean on to somebody that we really lean on now. He's over there running the kitchen at Outlaw. Jose has turned into, he can be whatever he wants to be. He's got that talent. So. And we know who Maggie is. Thanks, Maggie, for your 5 years. Seems like Maggie's been here for 25 years, too. Where's Sonia? Is Sonia here? She's not here. All right. Hans. I never knew Hans's last name. Hans Dubé. Is that French or is that Russian or what is it? Everybody loves Hans. As far as, I want Hans to wait on me. Right behind, I want Lisa to wait on me. So Hans has been, he's loyal. He's, again, one of those people we'd have to shut the doors down if Hans quit. So anyway, thank you, Hans. I appreciate you. All righty, I believe we have, what do we have left? Oh, the most important. Employee of the Year. Now, we ask a lot of our people. That pretty face when you walk in. She's We're training her to be the assistant controller, the assistant. She's training for every position in the office. One of the things even in an organization our size is you have certain people that just have a lot of proprietary information. If they walk out the door, all of a sudden you can't get a financial out, or you can't get the reservations out of the system, or whatever. Abby is being trained to be everybody, and she's knocking it out. But Abby is our 21-22 Employee of the Year. Everybody, please, big round of applause. Little standing ovation for Abby. She is the best of the best. All right. I believe at this point we'll have Ms. Cran, I believe, ask for the approval of the June 26, 2021 minutes. Ms. Cran.
Okay. So as secretary, I would ask that the members review the meeting minutes from the annual membership meeting held on Saturday, June the 25th, 2021, and indicate if there are any corrections, omissions, or additions. Hearing none, I would ask a member to approve a motion to approve the annual membership meeting from June 26, 2021 meeting. So moved. Okay, I have Sue Koenig, and who would second? Okay, thank you.
Hello again. Tom just talked a minute ago about 25-year employees. And my guess is that most of you don't know that this is the 55th anniversary of our club. And I'll bet that some of you here today, maybe were here as members or as children of members when this club first opened. If we could stop back in time and place ourselves in that first annual meeting, I don't think anyone here could envision all the amenities that we now have. 36 holes of golf, a great clubhouse with many food and beverage options, an outlaw clubhouse, tennis courts, pickleball courts, and coming soon, a beautiful new pool complex. But that's the way it should be, a gradual evolution of a club to meet our members' needs. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time today going over our club's physical improvements. You can see these and you can touch these. But before I move on, I am to make one comment about our bar. It has been a terrific addition to our club. Everybody enjoys it. What I am going to do is highlight a few of the intangible issues that I feel are important to Alto. As I have often said, our most important asset is you, our membership. We do have a great membership. But don't you all get too cocky. We do have a few misfits, but that's okay. Even Mayberry had its cast of characters, and we welcome everyone in Alto. We are fortunate in Alto to have a very economically diverse membership. Prior to their retirement, some of our members were respected leaders in their communities as teachers, government employees, or first responders, but are now living on fixed incomes. Others, like me, are retired professionals. Then we have those individuals who built their own businesses and are very wealthy. This diversity was recognized last year at our annual meeting when a point was brought up by one of our members, Ron Duncan. I don't know, Ron, if you're here today or not, but we realize there he is in the back row. I'm not going to try and quote Mr. Duncan, because I'm one of those people who cannot remember the word to any song, except for maybe Happy Birthday. That's about it. But I am going to paraphrase him. Essentially, Mr. Duncan asked the board last year, do you know what the hell you're doing? Alto has a book value of over $20 million, and new members are coming in without paying their fair share for what they're getting. Mr. Duncan was correct. Immediately after this, the board went into a meeting and tried to figure out what to do. Effective October 15th, 2021, a new initiation fee was imposed on all membership transfers other than member-to-member transfers. And what's my point? Why is this important? Our estimates show that these fees should generate an additional $1.5 million per year of revenue in a good year, and perhaps $750,000 in a down year. Initially, we're going to use these additional monies to pay for the pool project and Firewise compliance without impacting our existing members with targeted dues increases or special assessments. And as we go down the road, these fees will continue, and we will be able to complete additional projects that are highlighted on member surveys without impacting the then current membership. Next item. Last year, Alto was affected by a number of issues beyond our control, which continue to plague us. Inflation, supply chain shortages, fires, drought, and labor shortages. In fact, we're now just getting some 22 H-2Bs that were not allowed into the country due to administrative snafus. Earlier when Tom was talking about Glenn and the golf course, we're still short 6 people on the golf course. You will notice I have not included COVID on this list, though. It seems that's one thing that we've at least turned the corner on. Despite all of this, you have all been very fortunate in Alto. The club has kept running on an almost normal basis, and all of us have been able to enjoy our favorite activities. For this, I want to give kudos to our general manager, Tom Blumendahl, and his lieutenant, Craig Maldonado. Whereas Tom does a terrific job as the face of our club, Craig is the person who executes behind the scenes. We have very strong management at this club, and without the two of them, I'm certain we would have had a disaster on our hands. Tom, our general manager, is continually coming up with ideas to make this a better club. Most of them are successful, and a few are not. But you never know whether something will work until you try. And if we don't try, then we remain stagnant. To this point, I'm going to read a paragraph from my Avalanche article of about a year ago. I know a lot of you don't read the Avalanche, so that's why I want to do it again. Let me share a story that I recently heard from a longtime member. When I arrived here over 40 years ago, many of the roads were not paved. When it came time for paving, some of our members said, "We don't need paved roads." The club initially operated out of a trailer. When it came time to consider a clubhouse, some of our members said, "We don't need a clubhouse." When we had the opportunity to acquire Outlaw, many of our members said, "Why are we doing this?" This gracious lady continued to recite other improvements that have been made over the years that we now appreciate, but you get my point. The reality is that we cannot stand still. Too many clubs have taken this route and either wasted away or gone out of business. Now, the last thing I want to cover before we go to the commission reports is this. As many of you know, the club was involved in a lawsuit for several years over enactment of the 2018 covenants. That lawsuit has been settled, and we are again operating under the 1994 covenants. The board has appointed a new ad hoc commission to update these covenants since they are almost 30 years old and times have changed. For example, I have asked the commission to look at adding provisions that will help make Alto a Firewise community and will help us control short-term rentals. The commission's job, I know from personal experience, is not an easy one, but sometime in the next few months they will be submitting their work to the membership for a vote. When that time arrives, I ask that everyone take the time and effort to do what is needed to vote. Thank you. Next, we are going on to the commission reports. Again, I want to remind you, please hold all questions to the end of the meeting.
Okay, I'm sorry. It has been brought to my attention, since I'm new at this, thank you, that I cannot approve the minutes from last year with a motion. I must take a vote from the members in order to approve the minutes. So, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Now, everyone that is in favor of approving the minutes for last year's annual meeting, please raise your hand. Anyone opposed, please raise your hand. Thank you, the minutes are approved.
Thank you, Debbie. First, we have the Scholarship Commission, Jim Solomon.
Thank you, John. I'll try to get up there because my voice is pretty soft now. The scholarship committee we have here at Alto is really a special group of people, and like me, they all really have a special place in their hearts for working and mentoring young people. Our club has been extremely helpful in this area, and I guess before I get into that, I'd like to make sure everybody notices who's on this commission. I shouldn't say commission, on this committee. These guys, these folks around this committee work really hard. I've only been on it 2 years, and they're the kind of people, like when I was in the service, that work for you, that made you look good. And that's the way these ladies are. They're smart, they're extremely hard-working, and it's an honor to be working with them. I'd like to make a special thanks, though, to Bud Busici, who is going off our committee this year. Bud served as the board liaison of the club board, and we're looking forward to whoever replaces him. A little background on just our scholarships here. I won't take long at all. We give 3 types of scholarships here at Alto, and they're given for both college, and we're really emphasizing this as well, trade schools. Quickly, the primary scholarship are employee scholarships, and this is really important because it brings a lot of these young people. You see them around all the time in the club as employees to our club, and as Tom mentioned, we probably couldn't operate without all this extra help. Thank goodness we have them. Generally, we have from 12 to 30 employee scholarships in any given year. It varies from year to year. We can go ahead, I'll skip that, that's not on the scholarship. The employee scholarship goes anywhere from $2,400 to $4,000 a year while they qualify. And that's based on their grades at school, which again, college or grade school or trade school, and the years of service here at Alto. Actually, we're going to start the interviews for 2022 next month. The second one is interns. You'll see those a lot around the golf courses and golfing area and administration areas. And these scholarships range from $1,800 to $2,400. And these are great jobs, first of all, along with a scholarship. And of course, they get college credit. That's based on, of course, their performance here at Alto, their grades, and their years of service. And our third set of scholarships we give out every year, 1-year scholarships, and that's to our local high schools. And currently we have Ruidoso High School and Capitan High School. These are $1,500 scholarships to go to college or trade school. And in 2022, we authorized 8 scholarships, 4 to Ruidoso High School and 4 to Capitan High School. Now, these numbers will vary each year depending upon the finances of our club and our scholarship accounts and the qualifications of the applicants. Some years you get some really top-notch kids, and some years you don't have as many of those. So that has a bearing on it. And once again, you'll see these. We're doing a lot of this to just encourage them to come out here as seasonal workers. Again, great amount of experience for life just being at this club and being around a lot of our membership. Over the last, I guess, 21 years, the Alto Scholarship has given out over $850,000 to these scholarships. And what I think our current board and the boards of the past are doing so well is, out of all those young people that we've had come and go, we have an 85% success rate in getting their degrees. And so that means that the folks before us, and hopefully us, are picking really good kids that really are motivated to do well. And I think most of our memberships are real proud of this. It's, you know, a lot of us are getting a little older now, and it's so important for us to be a part, or have an impact on the finances for education and the futures for a lot of these young people that we're privileged to get to know. Each year, each of the membership pays $40 a year. That'll be billed out generally, I think it's this month. And that goes to the scholarship fund, plus all the other things we do to generate money in order to meet these obligations and be a part of these kids' future, you know, financially anyway. Lastly, I'd like to bring up one of our projects that we're doing. They do it every year, and the ladies are working so hard on this, is our scholarship night. And that's going to be on July 22nd. And it's called, they've named it Havana Nights now. And it's going to be a great evening. And we certainly encourage everybody to come on out to it. Enjoy yourself. There'll be silent auctions. There'll be a wine flow. There'll be great fun, great music, and everybody will have a good time. Those proceeds go directly to the scholarship accounts. Also, the scholarship recipients, you'll get to meet them that night. We'll be here working like they do every year. And it gives you a chance to know some of these, I won't say kids, because they're young adults for the most part, but you get to know them. And that makes it really extra special when you're dealing with them, and working with them, seeing what they do and how they move on from here and where they're going in their life. And we can really acknowledge in our hearts that we've had a little impact on that. If nothing else, give them the opportunities that sometimes they wouldn't receive any other way. Jill, Jaylyn, is there anything I need to add? Okay, that means to zip it up and sit down. So, thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Jim. Next, we have Finance, Audit, and Advisory. And the gentleman who is doing it today, I think, has done it for so many years that he was doing it before I even arrived at this club. Greg Obregon, or as he calls himself, Gregorio.
Good morning, fellow members. Yeah, I've been doing this so long. Gene King was the president, and that goes simultaneous to my 43 years of members of this club. First, I'd like to... You gotta turn it on. I'd like to mention our members: Kurt Beal, Zane Bergman, Spencer McClure, Dave Winans, Roxanne Rich, our board liaison, Richie Hood, and our very special chairman, Susan Holmes. Susan decided to go fishing. He's not going to be a chairman anymore. First of all, we had a clean audit. I did not expect anything else with Gina managing the numbers. As mentioned before, we are fortunate to have Gina. The audit, again, was very clean, no observations. You can get copies from Gina at the office, and I suggest you do. She has promised not to charge for these copies. I'm having the official page of each of the, from the audited statements, and then we go on to my version, which is abbreviated. As you see, we have had a considerable increase in cash from 2.6 to 3.8. This has been a steady increase. Some of them we drop down, and this depends on the amount of capital expenditures that we do. You see the current assets, which are large, and in the audited statement, most of these current assets are the receivables that the club books from our capital assets and our current fees. Those are booked at the end of March because we send the bill, and we pick up the number, we pick up the checks from you during April, hopefully. You also see a very large increase in property and equipment from 16 million to almost 20 million. That's a $3.8 million increase, and of course that does not include the value of our golf courses and our facilities, which have increased, and the value is much more than 19 million. Our liabilities continue to long-term debt continues to go down. This is the debt that we have with the water company for the lining of this pool here. And as you see, the member equity has increased from 2016 substantially, and I got lost. Okay. You could go ahead, please. Those were the highlights that I was talking about. Next slide. This is the audited profit and loss. I have the consolidated version going next. You see the member dues at 4.2. This does not include our capital assessment. You have a significant income in the golf revenue, very significant. You see the transfer fees more or less similar to last year, and considerably larger than the previous 3 years. We hope that the new structure of fees will increase these. Our total revenue has increased steadily from 1.9 in 17 to 3.6. That is $1 million increase over the last 6 years. Next slide. These are the highlights. We did lose a little bit on securities. Next slide. This is what I call Gregorio's P&L. As you see, the the member contributions have increased substantially, but if you annualize these, they are 5% per year, which I think is pretty good considering the improvements we've done to the club. The member contributions went from 4.5 to 5.6. That is a 32% increase over the 6 years, which is 5% the years I mentioned. Our total income was 12.1 million last year, up from the 9.1 of the COVID year, but significantly above previous years. This is mostly due to the golf revenue. The total expenses have gone up to 12 million, up from the 9.5. I got lost. Up from last year's COVID number, which was obviously low. That is total expenses since 2017 have increased 3.8 million, or 48%, which is about 5% increase in expenses over these years. This 5% is more or less similar to the 5% increase in income. As you see, I also put below the income that I have of this format that I use, I put below the audited income before depreciation, and I also put the cash equivalent. Most of the time where we have a negative in my format, you also have a negative in the audited statements. That's it for the numbers. I would like to make a comment on the recommendation of the pool. The scope of the Finance Commission is finance, numbers. We limit our opinions and our suggestions to that in the same way that Golf and Greens limits their suggestions to golf and green matters. We looked closely at the numbers presented to us and the projected increase generated by the new tax, the new fee structure. And we also looked at the fact that if you did the whole pool at the same time, the expense was obviously going to be lower. Our recommendation did not mean that this was endorsement of the project. Each individual member of the committee has his own opinion of the project. However, I would like to congratulate the board for taking a measure of reducing the size of the pool. That will allow the fees, the new fees, to accumulate, and will be easier for Tom and the management team to finish the pool in a more quick fashion. It is also important for us as we expand our footprint to realize that the larger the footprint, the larger the expenses. And I mention this because most probably we will have an expansion of the Outlaw Clubhouse within the next 3 years. And we also have the possibility of the Cocopelli deal. So the bigger the footprint, the bigger the expenses. And we do not know yet how much of these new transfer fee funds will be taken up by the operation. Tom is very well aware of this, and we will be, so as we go forward, we have to be careful not to spend all this additional income coming in from the fees. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Corio. I do have one clarification, and I hope it wasn't a misunderstanding among the whole membership. Greg said that we, the board, had decided to scale back the pool project. That is not, in fact, what I was saying in my message. What I was saying is we are putting it out for competitive bidding. So there will be a bidding process that will occur. Several of our members and perhaps some outsiders have come to us and said, we can do it more cheaply. And that's what we are planning to do in the next 30 days. So clarification to what Mr. Oberlin said. Next we have Architectural Control Commission. A very important commission that people don't often realize the work that they do. Davis Dalton.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Eric. Hello, everyone. Well, I'll start just by introducing the members of the Architectural Control Commission. Ron Duncan, the sage of the Architectural Control Commission. But all of them are really sharp people and are interested in helping the members do what they want to do, but stay within the covenants and the guidelines. They're a great group. Susan Frederickson, Jeff Hasty, Jesse Saw, Ken Wall, Bruce McLean is our newest member, Jimmy Mace, the board liaison, Maggie Fizz, the central administrator, and Eddie Candelaria, our inspector. And Bob McWilliams was on the commission until earlier this year. He transferred over to the Alpha Lakes Special Zoning District Commission. I'm sure he'll be a positive influence there. Next slide. So, what is our mission? What is our guiding principle? To maintain the integrity and uniqueness of the Alpha Lakes Golf and Country Club by adherence to the United Covenants and rules, policies, and design guidelines of the ALGCC Board of Directors. The covenants and the rules, policies, and design guidelines are both publications that you can obtain on the website or by contacting our administrator, Maggie Fizz. Well, the year-over-year stats, and this is a little bit hard to read, but on the top, you have the dark blue and the cyan or aqua color. The dark blue is last year, the cyan is this year, this past year. There has been kind of a mixed change over the 2 years, but in general, pretty much the same. What stands out there is the decks and redecks. There were 35 last year and only 20 this year. The repaints, stains, and stuccos went up from 19 to 30, and re-roofing went up from 18 to 25. So total annual permits, 146 this past year, down from 170 the year before, but in general, pretty stable. Total new construction was 7 homes this past year, 6 the year before, and 5 before that. Next slide. Covenant and policy enforcement. This has changed a lot from last year. This year, dead trees, tall grass, and lot maintenance is the majority. Other covenant violations, which is kind of miscellaneous. 10%, and the rest are all small percentages. I think last year the biggest complaint section was short-term rental related complaints. Next one. So I just would like to remind everyone that there are simple projects that require an ACC permit, but there is no fee. To repaint, restucco, and reseal your driveway, you do need a permit, but there's no fee associated. Next. And if you're doing any electrical work, plumbing, decks, retaining walls greater than 4 feet in height, or if you're putting in a driveway culvert, there's a Village of Ruidoso permit necessary for those, and it's a county road commission permit for culvert to put in the driveway. A deck that is pretty much on the ground and is just a replacement, I think the village will tell you you don't need a permit. Next slide. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was, I call it Fire Smart. Firewise implies, well, it's a brand name of the Forestry Service, and so it implies certain criteria. And the ACC and the board want to engender Firewise criteria into the club, but not 100%. Fire Smart. I'm gonna switch. My wife says she can't hear me. So, now, is this better? Okay, sorry. The board and the ACC are interested in cleaning up dead trees, down trees, brush, limbs that are on the ground, and mowing the tall grass and getting rid of the cones and needles. Thinning trees is probably an important thing to think about, especially if you have thick stands of trees. And if you have the Forest Service come in and designate the trees that they think that you can keep, and you accept the grant for that, you have to take down whatever trees they tell you. And I don't think that would go over particularly well with most of the members. So we'd like to leave it at more of a voluntary basis on the thinning of trees. You can have a qualified contractor come and advise you, or you can have the Forest Service come and advise you, but then you make the final decision. And we'd like to keep it that way. So what can we do, just as individual property owners, right now? Remove standing dead trees and dead trees and branches from the ground. Needles and cones for at least a 30-foot perimeter surrounding structures. And the ladder fuel, the lower tree branches, up to 8 feet. The Forest Service recommends trimming pine trees to 8 feet above the ground level, or 25% of the height of the tree, whichever is the lower. Deciduous trees, same thing. Junipers, 6 feet has been suggested as an appropriate level to trim those up to. Mowing tall grass, thinning thick stands of trees. There is no permit required to remove a tree. The 1994 covenants state that if the tree is greater than 6 inches in diameter, you must have a permit from the ACC, and it's at the ACC's discretion. The ACC has decided that anybody who wants to remove a tree will get the permit. And we've decided that we don't even have to have you apply for a permit. If you want to remove a tree, take it down. We don't want any clear cutting of lots, but thinning is appropriate. There was one more thing I wanted to say about thinning. Next slide. Next, I just wanted to mention thistle. It's an exotic plant, not native to the area. It's very aggressive, loves bare, warm soil, robs moisture from the grass. One mature plant produces probably 10,000 seeds, which are distributed by wind, and we do have wind. I have actually seen entire fields around Ruidoso completely overrun by thistle, and the rest of the plant just sort of spoils whatever beauty there is in that blue. They are ugly. So what can you do? The Alcoa was providing the 10% acetic acid for us until this year. There have been, I guess, some supply problems. You can make your own solution from white vinegar, which is 5% acetic acid. To a gallon of white vinegar, add a cup of Epsom salt, preferably, but regular salt until it will work, and a teaspoon of liquid dish detergent, and you have your own thistle-killing solution. If you can get to the plant before that seed head is there, that's the best time to kill the thistle. If the seed head is there, cut it off, put it in a bag, and put it in the household trash or burn it if you want. Next. And the last thing I want to talk about is roadside trash. Everybody knows that. I think everybody who lives here doesn't toss trash from the vehicle. A lot of pickup runners don't seem to think that whatever paper they throw in the bed is going to stay there when they drive away, but that's not the case. A lot of the problem is workers, construction workers going to and from lunch. They take 30 minutes for lunch, they go buy it, and on the way back to the job, they eat it and toss the refuse. The Alcoa's trash pickup days are an excellent way to volunteer to help in the community. And the last thing, there's a lot of dog waste along our roadsides. Please pick up after your pet if you walk them along the road. I think that's the last. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Davis. Carolyn Henry, next with Golf and Greens. And her job has probably been made a lot easier with the rain we've had over the past few days.
The rain has truly made it easier. Good morning to all of you. And for those of you who don't know the mission of the Golf and Greens Advisory Commission, it is to review and advise the Board of Directors regarding all aspects in the golf course and golf course operations. We also review and advise the Board regarding maintenance, repair, and management of the golf course and grounds. We examine tournament schedule coordinations, golf rules, and regulation enforcement. The commission is made up of 9 members, 6 of whom are appointed by the board, 3 by the 3 golf associations. And I break this out because I believe it's really important. These association representatives are the go-between from the commission to you members, to the golf members. That opens up a line of communication that's very, very important because they can tell you what's going on. If you have questions, you can ask them, and they surely will be able to answer you, and if not, get the answer for you. So use those representatives that we have. I'd like to introduce the commission members to you, and as your name is called, you might raise your hand or stand. I love having these slides. George Holmes, who serves as vice chair. Bill Doyle, who's been around forever and has lots of knowledge for us. Bill Lucy, Joe McCubbin, Lynn Summers, Jackie Gopel, who represents the ALGA, Diana Gibson, the AL9GA. Now, Diana will be stepping off this year, but we have a replacement for her. Bruce Ripco, who represents the AMGA. In addition, we have Glenn Denny, Director of Grounds Operations, John Rogers, Director of Golf, Bruce Ellis, who is our board liaison, Tom Blumendahl, our manager, and the most important person there, Maggie Fizz, who takes some notes. Thank you, Maggie. Some of the things that we reviewed this year, I think that's up on the slide as well. The annual operating budget and the capital budget, the tournament schedules for the organizations plus the outside tournaments, cart rules, regulation and enforcement of those, handicap committee, we'll have a little bit more on that later, implementing the use of Golf Genius, which has made golf shop operation a little bit better, faster. We're always looking at the speeds of the green and the lengths of the fairway, rough, and native area, the height of those. Tree maintenance, irrigation efficiency, the ever-going elk, deer, and horse management, personal golf cart operations, and long-range planning for the golf course. This year, I think we have our projects completed. We created and implemented a handicap committee, which is required by the USGA for a golf club to be in compliance and authorized. The committee has the responsibility of ensuring the integrity of the handicap system, along with educating the members on various handicap issues, which might include on how to correctly post a score, the use of equitable stroke control tables, and how to post a most likely score. What is a most likely score? There are 5 members on this committee, along with John Rogers. They are meeting, I think, fairly often, at least once a month. They have just started sending out letters to golfers who might have forgotten to post a score. If you receive such a letter, I hope you'll be considerate with your response. There's still a lot of bugs that they're trying to work out between tee sheets, weather conditions on certain days that might affect play, and gin posting. But just be considerate. They're doing their job. They're not trying to pick on anyone. They're just trying to make sure that everybody's posting their scores. Now, last fall, the commission, after hearing many negative comments over the summer about the teeing areas in Alto, started discussion on how to best go about solving issues with the tees. After much discussion and research, we decided to recommend rebuilding the tees, one side at a time, so we would only impact 9 holes. You'd have 9 that would be unencumbered by construction. We recommended that we use the master plan that had been designed by John Garner several years ago. After the results from the survey that went out in September came in, it only reinforced our decision. The tees were a concern for many of you, as evidenced by your responses. As you know, the project was approved by the board, and the front 9 should be ready for play late summer or early fall. McBride fire slowed us down. High winds slowed us down. Now this blessed rain that we have is slowing us down. But I think you're going to be happy with them when they're completed. The commission also recommended a driving range renovation in 2 phases. The first is to improve the landing area by reshaping it, improving the drainage, adding additional irrigation and grass to facilitate the safe operation of mowing and picking up balls to prevent the loss of thousands of golf balls due to standing water after rains. This project, the first phase of this project, is to be completed by late summer or early fall. We know they're creating an inconvenience for you, but we have to maintain and improve these assets from time to time, and these were built in 1967. It was way past time to start addressing this issue. Now, our proposed projects will be obviously to complete the rebuilding of the back 9 tees at Alto, complete the final phase of the driving range, including rebuilding and reshaping the teeing areas. We're researching plans to hopefully use artificial turf in that area, so our goal is to have it ready by the 2023 playing season. Looking to the future, the Golf and Greens Advisory Commission has long-range plans in place to improve and maintain both golf courses. Future plans are always subject to change, depending on course conditions and the desires of the membership. So I think, since we're holding questions, that is our report. Hope you enjoy the new tees and the driving range renovation.
Thank you, Carolyn. Next commission is our newest commission. It was formed about 5 years ago. Tennis and Pickleball Advisory, Elaine Wedgworth.
First of all, thank you for attending this meeting. You all are obviously interested in what's going on in this club, and I applaud you for being here this morning because I know there are other things to do. First, I'd like to introduce our commission. I think we have Belinda Campbell. Stand up, please. She's been our secretary for our commission for the last several years. And Cindy Stowe is here. She represents the pickleball end of our commission, and she's also running for the board. Molly Rogers. Molly, stand up. She's been a member of the commission since we started in 2017, and she's also the Tennis Association secretary. Stephen Morris is in California, I think attending a granddaughter's graduation. And Gaylord is playing pickleball, I believe, this morning with some family that's visiting. And we also have our board liaison, John Stern, who's been very helpful in getting our organization going. I recognize that tennis and pickleball is not the biggest population in this country club, but I think it's an important element for any premier country club to offer amenities, including tennis and pickleball, which is like the fastest growing sport right now in the United States. So we're happy to have the support of the board and the support of everyone to keep that element in our country club. As John mentioned, we started in 2017 as an official commission, and we don't have any paid employees that are assigned to us, so we really rely on the staff for the food. Glenn helps us with our repairs and keeping our nets and windscreens going. And the board consists of 3 tennis commission members that are appointed by or nominated by the tennis commission and approved by the big board. And we have 3 pickleball members also. From the picture, you can see that we do have a lot of fun on the courts, and I think Molly was missing for this picture, but that's our commission. And as far as accomplishments, this year we did undertake the resurfacing of all 8 pickleball courts. One of the tennis courts had been cracking, and that has been repaired and the surface repainted. I think the heavy-duty pickleball nets for the lower courts are almost here. And one fun thing that we did last year is we started a program for your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren to get introduced to tennis and pickleball. And so we did that last July, and we are offering it again this July. The first racket program is Tuesday, July 5th, and the first paddle program is Wednesday, July 6th this year. So if you want to register your children, the forms are in the office, and we look forward to working with them. Another fun thing that we did this last year for the very first time, and I think probably in the state, I don't know if anybody else had a program like this, we had a triathlon which consisted of tennis, pickleball, and a scrambled golf format, which we are going to repeat again because it was very popular on July 26th. As far as being a part of this community, both organizations undertook a fundraiser and raised over $12,000 for Food for Kids, Lincoln County Food Bank, and I believe the Spencer Theater also was one of the beneficiaries. We also got permission to have our tennis facility actually USTA approved, so if we ever get to the point of wanting to hold a mini tournament, we are allowed to do that. As far as future events, I guess you all are aware that those 90-mile winds knocked down our wonderful pavilion, and so we're hopeful that we'll get the issues with the insurance and everything involved with that, so we can rebuild that. And then those are the dates, again, for the triathlon, first paddle, and first racket. Our tennis commission is made up of a board of Barney Adams, Belinda Campbell, Molly Rogers, Shelley Stern, Candy Adams, and myself. And we have several mixers that we do during the summer. We just completed the French Open mixer, and on Saturday, July 9th, I believe, we have our Breakfast at Wilmington mixer. And then later in the year, we have our U.S. Open mixer, which we also invite other tennis clubs to participate with us. And then we do a fun, crazy Christmas mixer in December. The Pickleball Association has really gotten big. I think they have over 180 members now. Stephen Morris is the president, Donnie McVeigh the secretary, Doug Muneer just recently ended his tenure, but he was the treasurer. Gary Ridge is the tournament director, and Cindy Stowe is also a director on that board. One nice thing that they do is they offer free beginner clinics in the summer on Mondays at 2 o'clock. So if you have any interest in figuring out what that sport's about, just show up on Mondays. This year we also have a professional pickleball pro that comes up here once or twice a month and offers the members private lessons and clinics. And we're also getting ready for our float for the July 4th parade. There were some pictures that the pickleball people submitted. If you ever go down there, you'll hear shouting and all kinds of crazy fun going on. And I'll be available for questions afterwards. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Elaine. Long-range planning, which is crucial to our club for looking at some of the long-range projects. Clay Harris will give a presentation.
Good morning. First, I'd like to introduce the members of the Long Range Planning Commission. If you're just raise your hand. Mary Jane Shaver, who's the secretary. Joe Brandhuber, Elaine Redworth, Roxanne Ridge, John Moore, who's a new member, Elaine Wilmore, Sue Bailey, and Debbie Cran is our board liaison and Tom's ex officio member. The purpose of the commission is defined in the bylaws of the club. It's the job of the commission to establish long-range plans and goals for the construction of the facilities, efficient operation of the club, and maintenance of the club properties. Monthly, and we always have good attendance. Next slide. What we did early or late last year, we really didn't have a mission statement to sort of define the details of what we do. Sort of a key point of the mission statement is to prepare 3- and 5-year plans along with a 10-year plan to incorporate demographics that are changing rapidly. House or remodel or an expansion of the clubhouse, Cocopelli, which will be covered later. Water usage, conservation, with all the droughts, there's a lot of need to conserve water in a better manner. 19-hole lounge with golf simulators, additional outlaw parking, and as Elaine showed a picture, a rebuild and maybe an expansion of the outlaw pavilion to include a small pro shop and restrooms. And that's it for my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Fred. Next is the Construction Advisory Commission. That commission has several members and years of experience in the architectural and the construction business, I guess I would say. Ken?
Good morning. Last summer, I came in from men's golf play day and was sitting somewhere right over here, and Tom came to me and Scott Nickerson and asked us if we would be interested in restarting the construction commission, which had kind of gone away, and our main project would be the pool. We said that we would do it with the help of several of us, not just the two of us. And, you can see up there myself, Ken Wall, Jaime Torres, Burton Jarris, and Scott. Scott was one of our commissioners, and since he became on the board, is now just our liaison. Between the four of us, we have 175 years of construction or architectural experience. And so prior to us being involved, there had been a contractor out of San Antonio that Tom had worked with, helped us establish the initial plan for the pool. And about a month after we got together, that contractor elected to withdraw his interest in the project. So our initial work was to go out and find a contractor, an architect, a pool contractor, and put a team together, which we did last fall, and we started moving forward. We went out and got the environmental impact studies, the asbestos surveys, the geotechnical reports, and the topographic information needed for the architect to get started. We talked to the community, and a lot of people said, well, I'm not ever going to use that outdoor pool, but I'm probably interested in the indoor pool. Well, the original indoor pool only had 2 lanes, and we said 2 lanes really isn't going to be enough for as many people as we thought were going to use it. So we did increase the size of the project a little bit by going to 4 lanes. We were all, the initial price that we heard of $3 million, our committee kind of questioned that, and we were thinking it was really going to be more expensive than that. Nowhere near what it finally ended up being. But so when we started, as the number grew, we decided that we should contract with the contractor. We put a team together under what we call a gross maximum price contract. And it was a design build GMP contract. So that contractor guaranteed the price would never, in the case now we're at $7.5 million. He guaranteed it would never go above that, but he doesn't guarantee it won't go down. And so any savings, if inflation doesn't turn out to be as bad as they were worried about, if the supply chain doesn't as bad as they were worried about, the price comes down, we get that money back that he saves. Excuse me. And that contractor then would manage, that contractor would be the overall manager of the architect and the pool subcontractor. So this morning, we find out that we're going to go back out for rebids, which creates a lot of new questions that we haven't had a chance to discuss. If we start on the pool, who's going to be the earthwork contractor prior to the pool start? We haven't had a chance to discuss issues like that. Who's going to manage between the separate contracts instead of it being one contract? So at any rate, we'll need to get together with the board and with our construction commission and work on finding new general contractors to bid and how we're going to piece that all together. That's what I've got to present today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Next is Alcoa. Alcoa is not an official part of Alto, but it is an integral part of Alto. They do so many good things for us that, you know, Gibson is going to speak to some of these, but we've got to give them a lot of credit.
Good morning. I'll try not to drag this out. Some of you may recognize me as Wild Bill from the murder mystery this past week. Our board of directors, as you can see, Deidre Mergula, I don't think all of them are here, but she's the past president and she's been granted the honorary title of creative director. Raise your hand if you are here. Elaine Wedgeworth, Susan Poole is the secretary. My wife Diana Gibson's the treasurer. She also built a new website for us, alpoa.info. Gracie Reinigans, Mike Wedgeworth, Tom and Amy Fox. They're in charge of our 4th of July parade and the rally around the flag festivities. I want to thank them for their efforts there. Matt and Julie Pursley, Albert and Deb White. And obviously, if they're an employee of the club, they're being compensated for their time. But I wanted to stop right here and give a round of applause to all the people that are on these committees and commissions because they are volunteers. So if you wouldn't mind putting your hands together for everybody that puts in the time. There's a lot of people putting in a lot of man hours. The fishing dock is probably one of the most visible projects that we've completed other than the sign that's out in front of the club. We've done those. And I need to, we started rebranding Alcoa last year because, and you can look on the agenda, old habits are hard to break. We are not a property owners association. We have reincorporated and we are going after a nonprofit status. But we're rebranding as the Alto Lakes Projects, Outreach, and Activities. And our mission is to enhance and enrich the community and the lives of people here in Alto. I won't read all of those bullet points. You can see we do the burger, brats, and bingo and all of that. All the money we raise goes to the scholarship committee. And like Elaine said, our pavilion over there by the tennis courts kind of got blown down. So we've got some money tagged. You don't have to be a member of Alcoa. It's not compulsory. It's $25 a year, but you do have to be a property owner here to be a member. We're going to continue to host the bingos. You may notice the evacuation route signs and the neighborhood watch signs. We're in charge of those. We do those things. The neighborhood cleanups, we're doing those. We want to thank the club for streamlining our membership process. If you're not a member and you do want to be a member, all you have to do is call the club office or stop by the office and fill out the form. And they'll add the $25 to your bill and cut us a check. We appreciate that. We are also in the process of facilitating CPR classes. That will be in Avalanche when it comes out in July, if you have any interest in that. And I think that's probably it for me. Turn it over to John.
Thank you, Dad. We have an unscheduled presenter today. Very important. Scott Miller is going to talk about Firewise.
Good morning, everyone. One of the main reasons I ran for the board was to try to get this Firewise activity going on in our club and to there's a designation for that you can get through the Forest Service, and there's several really big reasons why you want to do that. One real big one is safety. The biggest is safety for all of us and our investment here in our homes and real estate. And another one is insurance. And so there's been a redesignation across the U.S. by the insurance company, and we have now, even though we already were, but have been designated a fire zone prone to fires, wildfires, and a lot of other places in the U.S. have that same designation. That is not good. When we went to renew our insurance on the club this last year, it was way more difficult than we experienced in the past getting our insurance renewed. And so in real estate, when we sold homes over the past year, since we had the McBride fire, the one down by the Shell station, especially the Big Bear fire, you look up at the mountain, you see the result of that. And just imagine that result inside of the perimeter of this subdivision. That would not be good. And so there are companies here that won't write insurance on homes here anymore. And some of the premiums on the insurance companies that are writing have gone significantly up. So I've been writing articles in the Avalanche, and I know not necessarily everybody in here reads that, but I would encourage you to. And we've had Mary Lavin, who's our local representative for the Forest Service. We've had her up here at our board meetings, and she's come in here and spoke. And there are a lot of very just good suggestions and ideas for people to do for their property to make it fire safe. And I've posted on those articles. There's a number you can call for the Forest Service, our local Forest Service in Captain. And there's money available through the federal, from the federal standpoint, that comes down to the state level, comes down to the local level. And it's not unlimited money, but it's significant. And if you apply, Davis was talking about it. I'm kind of lean way more towards the aggressive end of the fight, the tree felling and all that, personally. But anyway, there's money available, but the process is they have to come look at your property, and then they mark all the trees that they want you to leave, and then you've got to cut the rest of them. It's aggressive. But the thing is, when we have a fire like that McBride fire, that day the winds were gusting in excess of 90 miles an hour. And so if you can just imagine that fire across the street last year at the Shell station, if that had been a day like that, and that hopped the road right there down at the lake, a whole lot of us wouldn't be here. And I would encourage everybody to drive up on McBride Drive and Timberline Drive down to Galvin Canyon and see the result of what happens when you have that happen. And the thing is, we've experienced some really significant appreciation over the last several years here. And I think it's all because of the amenities of this club and Outlaw and this room out there, everything we're doing. But all that's awesome, but it does no one in this room any good if you're looking at black toothpicks everywhere. And we've had people now in our office that have bought property that are now trying to sell it, and it's literally got nothing on it. And even after cleaning it up, it's still very, very difficult. People have discounted the prices way down, and they're still sitting on their property. And whether they will or won't sell it, only time can tell. But it's really, really serious. And again, all these improvements are really awesome, and I enjoy them, and I know all of you guys do too. But the thing is, if you're thinning your property and several of your neighbors are, that's really good. But if the other people aren't and you're sitting against them, it does you no good. And I personally believe we need to make it mandatory inside this club that there's a standard that the whole place gets brought up to. But that's going to be in the future. But I would just really encourage everybody to look at some of those articles, past articles on the Avalanche, and read. The numbers are in there. I think the office has the numbers. I have the number. If anybody wants to call me, you can call at the state level, the local level, county level. And the money comes in January, and then it disperses out. And so I'm sure by the middle of the summer, most of that is gone. But everybody really needs to take seriously, getting their property into compliance. And plus, it helps our water supply dramatically. And there's a lot of other, benefits and reasons we need to do it, but the main thing is to protect your value of your investment in this community. And so I just want to encourage everybody to do that. Thank everybody who has been doing it. A whole bunch of you guys in here have already done it, and I would just encourage everybody to continue to do that and talk to your neighbors and encourage them to do it, and help us all to protect what we've got up here. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Ken Wall has been returned. He forgot to show a couple of his most important slides.
So the slide that's up there now, what most of you have seen, going from our little observation deck by the patio, demo that started, and then the next picture is the floor plan of the project as it stands right now. We've added the 4 lanes on the indoor pool instead of the 2 that it was originally shown. The pink on the top is the new fitness center. The green is the yoga room, and obviously the indoor pool is the indoor pool. Next slide is elevation from the parking area. And it's elevation, next picture, is the elevation looking from near the lake, looking back at the overall building, with a little bar area, not a swim-up bar, but it's a sitting area for a bar by the pool. And I think that's the last slide. So did with the golf shop, we did a little bit of work there and kept out on that. So that's the end of my presentation.
Thanks, Ken, for remembering. Tom is going to do the presentation for Outlaw Partners.
All right. That Outlaw property has become a very viable entity under construction. They currently have 18 homes under construction. They helped us and partnered with us in the reworking of the water wells over there. There's a cost sharing when it comes to the maintenance of the water based on the percentage of agricultural water and domestic water. And so they always partner with us in that, and have been great to work with. They pretty much on their dime built 2 irrigation storage ponds, along with increasing the production of our wells by about 30%. They're currently cleaning up their lots, the empty lots. They're working on getting the roads repaired over there, and they just wanted to thank the Alto board and the membership of Alto for supporting them, and they look forward to a very, very prosperous and positive year. In my haste to be recognizing people, there was one person that should have got the first level of recognition and thanks. And like everything else, I kind of consider Craig a part of me, So I looked at my name and I thought, well, I'm not going to thank myself. So, Craig, come on up, man. Craig Maldonado. He's the son of a member. He is the operational, I guess I'm going to call phenomenon in this club. When I'm not, in this club, I'm not really, when somebody comes up to me and say the cold food's too cold and the hot food's too hot, I refer him to Craig. So he, part of the process of becoming, if he continues to want to, being the person that would be running this club someday, is developing the ability to handle questions like that. Without Craig, I wouldn't be here. I don't have the time to be in the meetings that I'm in, and the long range planning and everything that we going on. The price of a suit goes up a nickel, and then you've got a line out the door for people who wonder why. Well, he's the guy that handles that and does an amazing job. And, hopefully, Craig, when you guys either tell me you're tired of me or if I get tired myself, Craig will be in a position to be able to take this club over. And there's never a better scenario than a seamless change in management. And hopefully that's what we'll have with Craig. Craig, thank you for everything you do. Golf is number one in this club. That's why we're all here. Nobody questions that. I don't know if Bill Doyle is always a very positive advocate for the club and the things to do with golf, but he called me one day and said, you need to read Golf Digest this month. So I pulled it up and I read it, and it was kind of almost like a template of what we're doing here, is that the importance of the amenities can't be understated. We were talking this morning. At one time, last night, I was talking to somebody. The first member meeting I came to was in 3 tents in the parking lot. Rained like hell. Everybody got wet. Everything got washed away. And then tonight, I'm in this facility eating the food that we had. And he said, I can't really believe that this is the same club. There were tough decisions made. Probably there wasn't money. There wasn't, the facilities in a club don't get improved. But at some point there's decisions made. And we're the ones that are the beneficiaries of the decisions that have been made to this point on our facilities, along with acquiring Outlaw. If we didn't acquire Outlaw, there would be a lottery on the weekends for tee times in this club. One of the reasons, there's a consideration of acquiring or we're willing listeners. The projects that we had this year, and my report is the bar, at the time of the annual meeting last year, the bar wasn't there. The bar has been a positive decision. The feedback at the time was, we don't need this. It's too big. It'll never be used. Now we're trying to figure out where we can get a building stretcher and make that room bigger, And really, the bar will eventually become an extension. The patio will be an extension of the bar. And so that wasn't here at that time. So, the powers to be, the board of directors that allowed us to build that without it being in the capital budget. I look at the financials, and I look at it probably different than y'all look at it, but who in the hell allowed this club to go over budget that far on capital projects? Well, the board had the foresight to know that this is something that had to happen, really in conjunction with some of the problems that COVID. We were getting kicked out of the building. We couldn't, you couldn't be inside. If you didn't, we actually was able to make this a patio by opening up the sliding doors. That was kind of a stretch, I thought, but the state allowed us to do so. But some of this construction and some of this expansion came to fruition because we never wanted to get into a position where we were going to be locked out of our own club and we couldn't take care of you other than throwing some to-go at you. So the patio wasn't done at this time of the year and the bar wasn't done. So those are completed projects that I think, you pay dues to have your opinion, and damn it, express your opinion. I have no problem with that. But it seems to be very well utilized. When we have entertainment on the patio, our revenue out there goes from $1,500 to $5,000 for a $300 local entertainment. I know people want quiet dining. When I go out to eat with my wife, I do not want to sit in the middle of a concert. I get it, but we're trying to provide that kind of experience in the old bar And hopefully we'll be able to expand that and make that even a better option. The Golf Pro Shop was representative also of the overage on our capital budget from last year. Do you guys, what do you think? You like the new golf shop? Is it too much? Is it too fancy? I mean, I guess I'm not supposed to ask questions until the end, but I think it represents the quality that the club is. And so I'll leave it at that, but I hope you're happy with it. And I know you're happy with the bar. The outdoor patio with the acoustic venue, did we need that? No, we don't need that. We don't need any of this. This is a luxury in our lives. This is not something that is, you're entitled to. Everybody in this room has been blessed, and by the good Lord, I'm telling you, that we're here, that we can enjoy. Look out the window. Every morning I get up and I go, how am I so blessed to be here? You know, we have amazing amenities. We have amazing opportunities here. And I know, people get irritated, and I get that. And, like I'll reiterate, you're paying dues for the privilege of voicing your opinion. And nobody is ever going to admonish you for that. Because we have an opportunity for grandkids or children, we've got these blow-up water slides over at Outlaw. Now, does that probably fit in with the community? Probably not. But it's not going to be there. That's not the end game for it. That is just a stopgap deal. We've got them cleaned up. We've got operators trained, and they'll be opening, I believe, Craig, this week. Yeah. So people have talked about to me is, why in the Sam hell are you guys doing all this construction this time of year? Well, that's a good question. First of all, grass doesn't grow in the winter. So when you're shaping and reviewing things, you really have to consider the season that it's optimally done. Now, we could have brought in the people in the fall if they were available. Now, one of the other considerations is, when is your contractor available to do the work? We've talked to them this year about doing this project, the second half of it, and starting in October this fall. So, but that would include losing October, November, which are very nice golfing months up here. You would do the shaping and get it ready, and then you would have to get off of it for the winter months, because we do get some frost in the ground, and there is, issues with compaction when you're doing that. And then they'd have to remobilize in the spring, and then mitigate the damage that was done by the horses, the elk, and the deer, and the erosion, and then charge us an extra 30%, and then we could finish it in the spring, and I would gain maybe 30 days of time during the season that would the second group of tee boxes would be ready. So we're going to talk about that board level, but that will be the new board's question. But to me, to spend an extra 30% to gain 30 days but lose 60 on the front end of it will have to be discussed. But it looks like, talking to Glenn, if we don't have any more delays, they'll start hydro-mulching the tee box on 1 and 2 on Tuesday. Is that correct? All right. And then do 2 more at a time as they can do the finish work and get through, and hopefully we'll all be done before the middle of July, and we'll be on them late September. Now, are we still going to do what we talked about as far as the tee boxes and the major tournaments? All right. The Kachina Doll and the Snowcapper will be played on the new tees. Now, we don't want you to bring your guests in here and it looks like it's a war zone, there's dirt everywhere, and we're building and building. We can get on those tee boxes for that limited time, and then we won't do enough damage where it'll really push the project back more in a couple of days. So knowing that, we'll have our tee boxes playable for those two tournaments, one in July and one in August. I mentioned in the Outlaw Partners part of it that they came in and they, have you all seen the pond on 6 tee box? And then there's another smaller pond over, I think it's on 13 green, or is it 12 tee box? I don't get out much, so I drive over there and look at it. I haven't played golf in so long, I can't even remember where my clubs are. But the one that is on 13 is strictly a water feature for that development. We do have the ability to use a sump pump if we need to and hand water tee boxes and greens in that vicinity. But that water is filled in from domestic water from the park. So it's not a reduction of our agricultural water. Now the water that goes into the one on 6 is all agricultural water. We would have been in a great situation if we weren't in a position to give 7 million gallons of water to the firefighters. They were pulling 2,500 gallons of water out of those lakes every 3 to 5 minutes. And I guarantee you that kept this place from burning down. Now, the good Lord has opened up the skies a little early this year, so, I think I'm talking to Glenn, we've had maybe close to 4.5, 5 inches over here, 4.5 over at Outlaw. So, hopefully we'll still keep on getting these little shots of rain during the day. And I think we're past it for this monsoon. I think we're in good shape. So, one quick question as I'm sitting here. Do you think that we should do something to shorten the length of this meeting by providing these commission reports to you electronically way before the day? I didn't know if I needed to stop the meeting for 5 minutes because I know my bathroom schedule, requires me getting there a little more than sitting at a meeting for 2.5 hours. But you think that's a good idea? I do too. We've done it on the board level, and it's taken the board meetings to like under an hour instead of 4 hours. So you can get you the information. It would be kind of your responsibility to read it. And so knowing that, I think we're going to incorporate that, hopefully, going forward. Saying that, I don't have anything. I could ramble on for days, but we've been here long enough. And one more commission, we've got Davis Dalton coming back up for the ad hoc. And then we'll get down to the nitty-gritty of who's going to be on the next board. Everybody, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be your manager. And I feel very, very lucky to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. This is going to be pretty quick. The Ad Hoc Covenants Commission, or Committee, is to basically rewrite the covenants. Members of the committee, I would like to stand up so that you can see who they are. Ron Duncan, Jimmy Mace, Carolyn Henry, Joe Brandhuber, and John and Tom are ex officio. Everybody knows them. But if you have questions, concerns, things you would like to talk about for the new covenants, these are the people to talk to. So our mission is to develop a new Unified Covenants document to replace the 1994 Unified Covenants. Present the new document to the property owners of the club. Identify significant changes in the rationale to support them, and then the committee will take the lead in facilitating members' understanding of the new document and to ratify the 2023 United Covenants. So why new covenants? In 2018, the 2018 United Covenants were invalidated by a lawsuit filed in December 1st, 2021. And therefore, the 1994 covenants remain in effect and control. The complaint of the lawsuit was that the method of ratifying the 2018 covenants was incorrect. According to the 1994 covenants amendment clause, a simple majority of lot owners had to sign the new covenants under notary. So many of the updates and improvements made in the 2018 covenants were lost. So what are we doing? What's the covenants committee doing now? We're using the 2018 Unified Covenants document as a starting point, and we're taking a long-term viewpoint. Covenants have to be a durable, long-term document. It's not something you want to be changing every year or two. We're removing 1994 covenants that are obviously out of date, such as no satellite dishes will be allowed. In 1994, satellite dishes were 6 or 8 feet in diameter. Now they're 2 to 3 feet, and almost everybody has them. So that needs to be changed. We need to add the Fire Smart or FireWise criteria to the new covenants, and update some construction standards. I thought it would be important to create a definitions section of the covenants so that people can understand, well, what exactly is a courtyard? What's a dog run? What's a fence? Also coordinating the covenants with the special zoning district ordinance so that there's not conflict there. There is a little bit of that now. Okay. That's what we're doing.
Thank you, Dennis. We've got a great club here. Now it's time for questions and answers. My consigliere, Debbie, is going to walk around with a microphone. And so you can either direct your questions to a particular individual, or I will direct them or answer them. Any questions? That gentleman right over there. I can't see real well because the sun shines in.
We've been admonished to pick up after our dogs. And I have a question. Who's going to pick up after the elk and the horses and the deer? I don't think we can see the forest for the trees. We're worried about a little dog poop, and I've got more elk, horse, and deer poop on my land than I do for my dog. And so we said, okay, that's not a big problem. But we also have members in some of our neighborhoods that feed and or water the wild animals, and we're not doing anything about it. We've got signs up that says don't do it, but they're still coming in. They're messing up our property, they're damaging our property, and they're breaking down our fences. I think the club as a whole really needs to address this problem. Every year, there's more elk, there's more horses, and we're losing the battle.
Thank you, sir. Feeding the animals, as you note, is not permitted. It's hard always to control what our members do, but on the other side of it, elk, deer, horses add to the charm of the community. So we have a balancing act that we have to handle. Any other questions?
Reporter.
My name's Richard Zelton. I've been a member here since '98. And I just have a question because I've kind of watched this club over the years evolve, and it's very nice, and I'm really excited about the pool because of my kids and my grandkids. But by building the pool first and then doing the outbuildings, is that not going to set us back another year before we're able to use the pool that we put in?
We hope not. Richard, we are going to get those bids hopefully within the next 30 to 40 days. The pool, we were always going to build the pool first, then we were going to put up the covering for the indoor pool and for the equipment. So by God, we hope that it will not put it back. But I cannot control supply chain issues and normal construction issues.
I understand that. But I've been through it once at one of my homes in El Paso where I put in a 70,000-gallon pool and then wanted an outbuilding, a pavilion with a fireplace and all, and it really caused a lot of problems.
Thank you. Anyone else?
John, I have a question about first of all, thank you for your message. You're listening to the members. My question is,
A little louder, please. I'm hard to hear.
Closer. Okay. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. My question is, on the original vote to approve the pool, there was a dollar number. And if you, I don't know what you're envisioning, but if you go and the new whatever you decide to do first comes in excess of the dollar number, will you go back for a for or against vote on the pool?
Well, let me answer that, Gus. I do not think I have the authority to really answer it. We have a new board coming on, and my inclination to you individually is probably to say no. But it's really up to the new board that's coming on in about.
Mesa in the mornings and the evenings looks like part of the Indy 500. The speed limit signs do nothing, and I would really appreciate it, and a number of us would, for the board to consider some remedy to the speeders. Most of it appears to be construction people. Some of it are the youths that get a new driver's license and are running up and down the roads. But my understanding is we had a horse that was hit about a week and a half ago and had to be euthanized. So,
Sir, I'm going to let Dale Gibson respond to you, but I agree with you 100%. You probably see me and my wife walking along High Mesa probably several times a week, and I have to watch for trucks coming down so I don't get mowed over. Dale?
you know, people are out in the evenings or early mornings usually walking their pets and enjoying the environment here. And it's a dangerous situation.
It is a dangerous situation. It's one that's been brought up repeatedly to Alcoa. I have had a meeting with Sheriff Mike Wood, and Alcoa has the money in the budget. We were going to ask him to let us pay his off-duty officers to help control the traffic, and he will not do that. Jeff? No, not unless we're incorporated as a village. We are not. Jeff Honeycutt, who's the Lincoln County Director of Roads, has, we had all these people at our Alcoa meeting a couple of weeks ago. Speed bumps are not an option because they inhibit emergency vehicle access and snowplows. That's the village. We're not the village. Jeff said he's not going to put road humps on here. Adding stop signs, Jeff said there have been numerous studies in numerous cities. Adding stop signs only increases the speeding because people are trying to make up the time that they lost having to stop. So, Sheriff said, if you see speeders, call his office. That's what he said. He said, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you call often enough, they will be here. And they do good at responding when there is a call. But they need to know there's a problem before they can solve it.
Thanks, Dale. Any other questions?
Thank you, John. Ron Pumpkin.
You spoke last year. You can't speak this year.
Yeah, I got a couple of letters and emails to that effect too, John.
Okay.
All right, first, administrative questions, John. We received a document in the mail a couple of weeks ago, I guess asking for the members' opinion as to how the pool project should be conducted. Am I correct in assuming that the board has made a decision on option one, option two?
No, the board has not. The only thing that I was saying this morning is the board is going to get competitive bids and look at the figures. That ballot that's out there is still good.
Still a valid ballot?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. Second administrative question relative to the ballot. If I'm not mistaken, a year ago, the membership approved a project in the neighborhood of about $2.9 million. John, is that correct?
No, it approved a pool.
It approved a pool.
It approved a pool project, yes.
For $2.9 million. I mean, is that the right number, give or take
The 2.9 and the pool itself were not connected. It was our best estimate at the time.
All right, so here, I guess now I'm confused because Mr. Wall gave a presentation that mentioned, I assume, a pool figure of not to exceed $7.5 million?
And as he indicated in his presentation, that when the construction commission came on, they were confused about the 2.9 figure and felt it was definitely going to be higher than that.
Okay, so if Article 1, Section 6, spending powers of the board, my understanding when I read that is that projects either singularly or in the aggregate that exceed $500,000 need to go to the membership for approval. It sounds as if the board has made an opinion. Are you somewhat begging for another lawsuit?
No, that's one of the things I've heard is that there may be another lawsuit. And what that does, that puts me into protective mode. Several people ask me for a copy of the attorney's opinion. Normally when you're threatened with litigation, you don't give those things out. And I hope we don't have any additional litigation, because that is the worst thing that the club can have. And you guys have to pay for it on your own pockets.
And John, I absolutely agree. So I guess my question is, what is the board afraid of in going to the membership for approval of a project which had overwhelming support a year ago?
We're not afraid of anything. This was, if you look at it, there were, as a vote of 70% of the people, 80% of those, these are rough numbers, 80% of those people voted for it. If my math is correct, that means that of the total membership, 56% of the people voted for it. So even if you had everybody who didn't vote no, you still have 56% of the membership who want this pool going forward. And there are people who are telling us, if you don't go forward with the pool, we're going to come after you because that's one of the reasons we moved here. I think we had a pool approved, and if we are fiscally responsible and able to pay for it without special dues increases or special assessments, that was what we were told to do by the members, Ron.
Well, it's not really, I don't think, as a member of the club, for the board of directors to not operate under the guidelines set out in the bylaws. I don't understand.
I think the 500,000 is precatory. If there's a project of over 500,000, we have to get permission for this project. But it doesn't say if it's $501,000 or $15 million, we presented the project and we have a fiduciary obligation to make sure it comes in under a cost that we can handle. And if you remember, Ron, and I'll get back to you, when this pool project was approved, we were looking at a $300,000 hit to the capital budget. And at that point, we did not have this new initiation fee, which I spoke of in my opening remarks, which gives us somewhere between $750,000 in a down year and $1.5 million in a good year to pay for this pool. And let's say the $7.5 million was not to exceed. We fully believe it's going to come in less than that. But let's say it's 7.5. That gives us, take the middle edition, $1 million plus $300,000 a year. We'll pay for this thing in 7 years. And we always said that this would be amortized over 10 to 15 years. I think we just disagree. We can agree to disagree, Ron.
Yeah, not a disagreement, John, so much as the bylaws are, I think, a pretty important document for the board.
It's very important, and that's why we contacted legal counsel to make sure that we were operating properly, because we were hearing rumors out there that some of the members were wanting to sue us.
Okay, thank you, John.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Ron has asked my question, so I just have a comment.
Absolutely.
I have carefully read the bylaws many, many times, and I do not understand how one cannot read the bylaws as to requiring a membership vote. Not a comment as to whether the pool ought to go forward or not go forward, but a comment as to whether the membership or the board should approve it. So I believe, my comment is, I believe the board owes the membership some reasonable explanation as to why they think they have, other than just some outside attorney has told us so. You need to tell us why you have the authority to move forward.
I appreciate your comment. Thank you, Jeff. Anyone else? One over there, Sue Bailey, Sue Cooney.
Thank you. John, I just have a question to clear up some confusion. As I recall, the way the ballot was written last year, it did not have a number, a budget number in for the pool. It was just, do you want it or do you not? Is that correct?
You are absolutely correct.
Thank you. My name is Terry Schaefer. Thank you for taking the question. And first of all, let's thank you to all the board members and commission members for spending your time with the club and for your service in the community. Closer now? Yeah. Okay, I've normally been accused of the big house, so that's good. Thank you, Sue, for bringing that point of clarification. I have the ballot. For those of you, there's many new members that weren't even here last year when it was put out for a vote. The official ballot, absolutely, you're absolutely 100% correct. There was no numbers on the ballot, not required to. But I wanted to read the first sentence on that official ballot. The purpose of this ballot is to approve or disapprove proposed full pool and fitness center project, parentheses, reference the information provided to members and available on the Alta Lakes Golf and Country Club website. So as part of what you received with the vote, you received this single-page document, which has the scope of the project and proposed dollar amount and project cost, $2.9 million. To JR's point, and Mr. Duncan's point, and to, I believe it's Mr. Blackshear's point. So I guess fundamentally the question to you, John, would be, since the scope of the project has changed substantially, not 2.9 to 4 million, not 2.9 to 5 million, or it sounds like you don't even really know what the project is now we're reevaluating, and kudos for you taking that stance. But if the project has changed substantially, to Ron's point, why wouldn't you want to put it back out to the membership with the updated numbers to move forward? And in full disclosure, I voted for the project, and I would continue to endorse it. But
I don't casino has changed substantially. We represented it as a pool and a fitness center. It is still, let me just continue.
At 2.9 million, yes, sir.
It is still a pool and a fitness center. We have a construction commission led by Ken Wall, who was tasked with evaluating what we had put out. If we had them evaluate it first and get to all the final details, we wouldn't have a pool till probably 2024.
It sounds like construction. The gentleman that I don't know, he worked, stood up, you sounded,
Ken Wall is his
you
name.
sounded surprised this morning that the board is taking that position to go back out.
Because this was a decision that was just made within the last 24, 48 hours.
And that's your prerogative. Again, it's just an open-ended question.
And we're doing that for the benefit of the members. You know, the members seem to be questioning the dollar amount, so we're going to put it out to competitive bidding, so we know that we're getting the best bang for our buck. Jerry?
So once you put it out to competitive bidding, which again I apply to efforts, and you get the most accurate information that you have at the time, why again, I think Mr. Duncan said, why wouldn't you feel, and as a fiduciary of the board, to be whether you're the sitting board or the new members, the same question would be the same to me. Since the scope of the project has changed by more than double, potentially, why would that not be prudent to put back out to them? And thank you for taking the question.
Thank you, Jerry. Any other questions? Okay, well, one more. Last question.
Not a question, just a comment.
Okay.
The scope hasn't changed significantly. We went from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. Other than that, the scope is the same. The price is different.
Mr. President, I've got a question, and maybe I don't want to be stepping on anybody's toes or anything like that. And I've got a drift of this on your opening statement. Is there anything being done for our community to do something about this short-term rent at our housing? Short-term rent.
Yes, I have asked the Covenants Commission, which Mr. Dalton just spoke to you about, to look at regulating short-term rentals. And I think we're a different community than we were 50 years ago, and I would very much like to see some short-term rentals regulations.
I'll agree. It has to be probably a term, an extended term. I understand these folks that have bought these properties or investment. I can show you areas that are getting terribly overrun with short-term rent.
I have a separate opinion. I am talking with an attorney who is giving us some guidance on that, on what we can and can't do under the law. So yes, the club is looking at that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now it is time for my closing statements and announcement of election results. What I want to do is acknowledge and thank the 100+ members who have volunteered to serve on our board, commissions, and other positions during the past year. All of these people devote a great deal of time and effort to making this a terrific club. I also want to say that it's been an honor to serve you during this last year as your president. I'm about to announce the newly elected directors, but before I do that, I want to thank all of the individuals that have put themselves forward to help oversee the operations of this club. These include Nathan Thomas, Richie Hood, Cindy Stowe, Davis Dalton, and Tom Fox. I want to congratulate and introduce our new board members. When I call your name, please stand up so they can see who you are. Cindy Stowe, are you here? Davis Dalton. Richie Hood. In a minute, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn, but after we adjourn, I'm going to ask the new board to assemble in the boardroom for about half an hour or so. I will now take a motion to adjourn this meeting. Seconded? I can't hear you. As I said in my opening statement, without Tom Blumenthal and Craig Blumendale, Craig Maldonado, we would not have had this great year. See you all next year.
Entertaining. Highlight of my year.